There were flaws there that really cost them. There's a reason they're down in the Nirvana grid, but we did see some solid stuff from them. Angel in particular was very scary, so perhaps we give EDG that one. Either way, though, they weren't better than OMG, who, if they want to get out of this group, would be a direct rival anyway. So perhaps in the end, needs must. Into draft we go. Bans already done. A few key ones.
Ash first pick has been let through though, despite those bans, and there's no misfortune here for either team. Both of these teams have been playing towards that misfortune, which is lane dominant and allows you to play towards different kind of wombo combo team fights. That Ash can be locked in alongside a Braum. On the other side though, likely Lucian mid, and then the Lilia is a takeaway from Xiaohao, who has been dominating. I think he's a top 3 Lilia in the league, and it's a powerful pick for JJ to have an AP farming jungler with also some engage options.
Yeah, there's some debate about what jungler's there, but there's just a hover, of course, and Corki very potent right now with the Tristana banned away. Vikla might default back to that, understandably so. Double AD carry is a strong option. Of course, there's Lucian as well. We're expecting mid lane off current trends, but could strictly go towards bot lane because Leave is a Lucian player.
So the Lucian counts as the Corki in mid lane. So Vigler self-counterpicked himself. I am so surprised by that. Maybe he didn't want to play the Yone into the Lilia because then you have to go melee range versus a very high damage kind of AP brawler from that jungle. Not the same kind of like flavor of champion as the brand or the Zyra that's just been locked in, which is more long range. So Vikla kind of self-counterpicking and saying, look, Cryan, I don't think you can play this matchup. This is a bit of a gauntlet now. Vikla's saying, all right, he's throwing down the gauntlet and saying, the Lucian's meant to beat the Corki. All right, prove it.
That'll be certainly something to keep our eyes on. Solo kill, blind picking the Gnar. It is once again rising in priority. We do get those kind of ebbs and flows with particularly Gnar, a champion that very regularly kind of disappears from top lane, and then suddenly people go, I can play this champion kind of well, and it fits in most team comps, and I can play it into a lot of annoying matchups and still be kind of okay. And he just kind of comes back into meta, ever so slowly creeping back in.
I think that EDG needs to be banning Braum on this next pick. Braum is really, really nasty alongside the Ash, and also ends up beating out a lot of your engage supports, which I do think they need with their comp right now. They need another form of engage. They could look towards something like that Varus, but that Braum would just be, it would give everything that Rare Atom wanted, but particularly when you have the Ash, the Braum goes up kind of like an extra kind of strata after that point. Jue will still need to go towards something engagey at this point, so he's also looking probably for the remainder of something like that Nautilus or the Alistar or the Rel.
It always feels good when you kind of muse about what ban you'd like to see and the reasons why, and then they go ahead and do it. There you go. A look into the mindset of the coaches there. The Braum taken away, as was noted. Senna was the ban. Perhaps understandable if they wanted to play towards the Lucian or whatever. Leave is, much like the likes of Jackie Love, something of a Senna connoisseur on occasion. See what they want to decide towards, of course. I'd argue one of EDG's more aggressive parts of the map is that bot lane. I see the Samira hover. I don't expect it to get locked in this early. You could Samira Rel if they really want to.
That's the thing. I feel like it's easier to kind of like just strip down a bit of that engaged champion pool again. Just take another pick away from it. Now, if you do want to go towards a Samira later, it's actually not bad.
It's great into Ash.
It's pretty great into the Ash. Which just sort of, it's like, yeah, blocks out the W, blocks out the ult. You can all in that. That could be pretty good. Not great into Zyra ult, I will say. That one can kind of destroy you a little bit. Yeah. So we did say both these teams were looking for kind of that extra engage for their team comp. Neither of them had like overwhelming engage beyond that point. So RA go towards that Nautilus for Jue. It's a comfort pick, and now you're just looking for something that can you know, survive in that top lane versus the Gnar. Because the Renekton, which is one of the more aggressive frontliners, is gone, I guess the Cassante is fine to just be that kind of patch all is a frontline, does okay. You do lose in the side lanes, which is a bit worrying though.
Never mind anything like the Samira, though, as the lock-in. It will instead be the Smolder, which, of course, is a hyperscaling option, will be a really good win condition later on, and eventually we'll be able to manage things like the Cassante and the Nautilus later on, because you just burn through them with all your ridiculous damage off the stack numbers. But it does also mean that Wink is likely going to be playing with JJ around Cryan, who's going to be tip of the spear this game, and will be a requirement for EDG to get things rolling in the early game, where I do worry a little bit about their ability to play at those mid-game fights.
Yeah, so EDG, they do have themselves pretty good follow-up team comp. If they have good Mega Gnar, and they have themselves a good engage coming in from Wink, it makes the job quite easy for Leave to throw an ult down over the top of it, for JJ to come in with a big sleep as well. That can be a big follow-up team comp. It's not the easiest to play around, because you do need to have that Gnar on a good timing. On the other side, I think the Ashe is much more fire and forget. If you miss it, whatever, that's fine. I feel like when EDG are in, they are in. I do like the fact that both teams have ample engage. I do like the fact that their lanes are competitive. It means that hopefully we get to see player skill win out the day rather than just the strategy coming out from the draft.
I think that is a fair statement indeed. I'll say, I think RA's comp is easier to execute, even if there is probably a little bit more bridging in the side of EDGs in terms of you start with a Gnar early pressure lane, and the Lucian at 1 item's good, and then you get to 3 dragons and the Smolder takes over, and that all feels really good, but it's not like I'm looking at RAs and going, oh no, double AD carry and a Zyra, whatever are we going to do about scaling?
So we make our way on to the Rift down here in the Grunge group of Nirvana. It's a battle of the bands here for the first series of the day. Rare Atom 2 and 1, EDG 1 and 2. 3 losses is kind of the magic number. You want to avoid that. EDG, with that in mind, would love to take a win today to make sure that they're not forcing themselves into winning all of their remaining games to have a likely shot at playoffs. Game 1 starts now.
Despite perhaps some of the woes this year, EDG still have a very vocal fan base, one of the very longest standing and most successful organizations in the LPL across its history. Of course, this year is certainly not that. The fan base remains. You can hear it there in the gyros for sure. Just aware of potential level 1 shenanigans with the Nautilus. All the while, Nautilus and the Ashe just looking to see whether they can find the Smolderell. Should strictly be a little bit of a better lane early on. The Ashe pretty obnoxious in those early levels, and you can see Zyra didn't have the plants interrupted, so she had a pretty rapid clear towards the top side.
So, we have seen that often be the answer into the Zyra. You just run in at level 1, you say, nope, no shit, no seeds. Very much like you used to do that against the Shaco. Shui ends up just making sure that Wink doesn't go for a snap engage onto Assume, because Leave ended up getting that W across them. We haven't seen that much of the Smolder. It just has come through just as a champion, which is okay at following up on some big engage compositions later on with that big ultimate. Doesn't really give much lane presence, though.
Flash on forwards, gets the root, Leave in danger, has to flash away. The autos afterwards doing so much work, and first blood comes on down. Smolder punished in the blink of an eye.
Okay, so that is, yeah, leaving stage right very, very quickly for the topically named AD carry. That the Smolder is great at following up for teamfights later. It is not a laning phase pick, and Leave and Wink fail at level 1, and that's opened up bot side jungle.
Oh no, it's getting rough already. Here come the plants. JJ may well be forced to flash out of the dredge line. We'll lose the blue buff as well. That is rough stuff. No interrupt on Xiaohao's clear. Gets to walk on in and nab away that blue buff with the Lilia not starting on it. It wasn't there and taken early.
We've seen this a bit from a couple of Zyras recently too. Particularly Kanavi did this as well, where you go for one side clear from the Zyra, and then you can go towards like a contest on Raptors or a contest on the bottom side. Because Assume and Jue win that lane so hard very early on, it is going to be a full quadrant bot side into camp steals in the enemy jungle, getting a flash out of the enemy jungle, and they go towards that top side.
There's the E down, Climb forced to flash as well. Jue getting absolutely every summoner on the board, it feels like.
This is a huge issue for EDG. EDG, their strengths this split have largely been their level 1s, their early games being pretty good, and JJ being really good at kind of marshalling the map when he needs to. Now, JJ's down a flash. You have Xiaohao, who is monster clearing through topside. Has even chosen to let go of walls, just so Xiaohao can be more active on the map. He's a level up to JJ right now, and he has red buff and blue buff.
The smite for this one taken by JJ, gets him to level 4, but the damage is still pretty good. Speed up with the passive on the Blooming Blows means he gets out with that smite secure.
Xiaohao, bit of a mistake there. Shouldn't have led with the E on the Scuttle Crab. If you know he's going to be contesting for it, you should save that E. And then also one of the matchup things about Zyra versus Lilia. Lilia gets to use the Q on your plants, unless you're using the slow plants or have Rylize. She just then gets speed buffs and then just walks away if she doesn't want to fight you. So that's just a little thing about the matchup which can sometimes favor the Lilia in specific scenarios, as it did that. All the same, Xiaohao's going to be a little bit ahead on farm. You see in mid lane, supports have just left their AD carries and they're more interested around playing their other AD carries.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yes, we've had one AD carry, but what about second AD carry?
Well, why? Look, mid laners are needy creatures, Alex, and sometimes you just need to babysit them. Maybe they should be the duo lane.
Xiaohao potentially going towards this bot lane as well. I was wondering if he was going to run on the back. He doesn't see that. He doesn't have vision of him. So if he had vision, he would stop that recall almost certainly. Not going to be the case now. Wink going to be spotted heading back out onto the map. Map hacks have been enabled by Ash, so that's going to give RA good information too. And RA really good start to this game. And this is now going to be EDG. What do they play towards? They're playing towards fast clear from JJ. Hopefully he can get onto the map a little bit sooner as well. But it feels like Xiaohao and Nymaera have been winning out these first 5 minutes, and it has had some big implications, because you can now see that Leave is losing XP, is losing some gold, and RA are starting to get a bit worried, I would imagine, about the state of their composition.
Yeah, and I'm kind of liking what's happening with the sports bot, because the volatility here for EDG is in mid lane in a lot of ways, and just having the Nautilus there makes playing through mid lane pretty tricky right now.
That's very true, because that's a really good point, because the Lucian is meant to counter the Corki. That's how LPL's been playing it. You dodge out of that Fosh bomb. I'm very Sean Connery, the Lucian in the mid lane. You try and that's pretty good.
KDA of 007, huh?
Yeah, I like my Corki shaken, not stirred. Xiaohao is going to be going towards... no, not Xiaohao is going towards... Look, shut up! Okay, Xiaohao's going towards bot lane.
The name's Dive, James Dive, Leave another day, they make it a 1-for-1. I'm out of James Bond puns, but I don't think they're out of damage. The Ashe comes on through with the ult, but Wink will blink and fall apart in the bot lane.
With two kills, they can afford themselves an entire gold finger at this point. They picked up about 600 from the kills. They get to get themselves plates as well. Bow. Yeah, it does feel like EDG. They will find themselves, sadly, a moment to reflect. Maybe they can find themselves a quantum of solace in this moment. They'll definitely need it after this awful early game.
Look, they went to the Casino Royale. They gambled and they lost. You know, that was a bad flip. They put it all on red.
Yeah, and now with the cloud going down as well, it really is a literal sky falling as well. So is the cloud.
Oh my God!
But Reratum, as EDG are losing across the board.
Oh my days. Well, I'm glad.
Oh God, it's not good when the first game of the day gets up to this kind of level. Cry and gonna walk up and try and get something back for EDG.
Or you mispronouncing something and Sean Connery being in fate. Oh, I need a new cast, or I'll go to Daniel Craig's list.
It just doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. Oh God, this early game is about as good as it gets for Reratum. Even this wave crash towards bot side, you're gonna have assume kind of just bodyguard going towards this. EDG, what are they getting in this early game? They get a slight lead in top side because of a plate taken by solo kill. But all right, what more can you want from this point? It is so hard for RA to like not find advantages at this point. The level 6 is hit midway through this dive, and yeah, Leave has been completely dunked on as the Smolder. If you hard focus on the Smolder, you don't really get to play the game. Doesn't have the early game tankiness or the ability to outplay. Your damage is really low, and you know, Wink ends up blowing the flash too, which is a bit of a problem. Now you don't even have that playmaking tool to make a snapback play.
And Leave has finally got someone his back up, but in some ways it's too late. You're down 2 plates, you're down 2 kills, you're down a wave and a half. It's rough going down there.
So, EDG, they're not behind that much gold as it stands, because Victor's down a little bit on that mid lane and also gave up a plate. We do see 3 grubs over to the side of EDG. So maybe with those grubs taken up, maybe they get themselves some advantages through that Gnar, but I'm really just quite worried now about what's going to happen with this Smolder on the bot side. Arrow's coming mid!
Oh, it's all a bait! Vikla holds on just about. He's now in a slightly tricky position with no teleport. Xiaohao around, crying with no flash. Would have to wait for the E, really, to look for a true kill here. Needs to be a little bit aware of the piercing light or an ardent blaze, but Vikla holding his nerve, has got the fleet footwork and seems to be alright with that part as well.
He's also got a big one and a flash. So if you go towards the Corki, if he flashes out of that piercing light and hits you with a big one and a fast one, he probably wins that trade after that point. Cry needs to be careful of his mana as well by missing that Q. This laning phase threat is kind of over as it stands. You have Wink in the lane, but it's not going to do that much else. Replay in the bot lane, what are we seeing here? An ult used by Leave to stop a recall and clear out the wave. So that gets something back for Leave. He's ended up getting more farm than I would have expected. Remember, Cry and no flash. There was a chance that Drake could have flashed for the hook, doesn't go for it, and we get ourselves a bit more of a calm phase now coming through.
Indeed. Now, you're right, actually, Leave managed to even up the wave discrepancy off that, which is great. Got a plate as well, so nice interrupt on the back. We know that ultimates used to that can be really obnoxious. Shout out to Jinx doing that quite a lot when she was last more meta a few patches back. But still, Leave managing to stay somewhat in the game. Not stacking super fast, but of course, Smolder in general doesn't stack anywhere near as quickly as he wants to anyway.
Yeah, and also it's worth noting that Smolder still gets the execute at 225 stacks. It's just a lesser threshold for the execute. You still get the burn damage. It's still okay. You're still Smolder in late game. It's just not quite as obnoxious when it was like, it doesn't matter how far you are, but fine, 225, 3-item Smolder. It is a win condition. If you can't win with that, then... You know, why are you here? Funnily enough, EDG played that a lot in spring. Didn't really work out for them, but hey, they tried it. So now EDG, once again, are going back towards that. It's one of Leave's most played champions because he played so much during that meta. RA, they're up in kills. They have themselves that first dragon, but I thought this gold lead would balloon more. The fact that it's only 10 CS in bot lane is a bit worrying, considering that it is still Smolder. It is 1,000 gold lead. Assumes next arrow. I think they need this to accelerate the game again. If they don't get themselves a good value out of the next big play they make, I think that EDG will be quite happy, especially with those 3 grubs under their belt, meaning that RA can't accelerate too hard themselves through towers. Yeah, exactly. The fact that grubs haven't been taken, they'll trade them now, of course, and dragons in a minute, so it should still end up at a pretty decent objective clip for RA, though they are also in this position where, like, actually would expect the Ashe to be further ahead than they are, especially with the fact that the Smolder has died twice and dove as well with the wave being lost there. The fact that in mid lane, the Lucian, the flash blown is kind of staying even there. You're going, okay, I was expecting perhaps a bit more in the gold front from RA, but they're still doing just fine. They're still scaling okay as well. It's not like the game is over. It's just, I suppose, credit to EDG for not bleeding out more than they could have done here. You know, Sam, I think there should be like a Wasp Queen Zyra. That'd be cool. Because you could have like each of the plants having like the stingers on and stuff like that. That'd be really fun. And you can call it Zyra B instead of Zyra A. That'd be fun. Did you also know that, very topically to the James Bond stuff, I'm pretty sure that Vesper means wasp as well. Pretty sure that does. That's why Vesper is like wasp-like. Yeah, that's the thing. I think that'd be really cool though, because you've got like Orbiana and stuff like that. I like the bee skins. I think they're cute. They are pretty awesome. And the Ashe, about to reset here. No, that's not the Ashe reset, it's the Nautilus. It's got baited by Nautilus behind the Ashe picture. But Dragon has been started. Although solo kill is here nearly at Meganar, so perhaps has to be a touch scare, but we can see with GJ on the top side of the map, unlikely to come and contest. He's alone, so there's no contest there. He's just there kind of battle warding it out, playing his own bit of Safari League of Legends, and seeing that the wildlife is there. It is there. Vikler is on the weak side. He has a big one, so he can clear out a little bit. He won't get himself access to like a big turret plate. This dragon's going down fine. Worth noting, by the way, that most of the dragons are completely fine to take for Zyra. She'll take them as quick as anything else. If you take a Hextech dragon, it can be a bit tricky because the chain lightning from the breath kills the plants really quickly, so you don't get all of your DPS. Zyra's DPS is all from plants, so the fact that like the Hextech ends up just killing it for free is very annoying. Really annoying. Even if you tank the shot, the plants just end up getting the chain lightning anyway most of the time, which is a real pain. Arrow going bot side is going to miss. So sadly, we were saying RA, the next arrow, the next big play from them, really needed to be something they could accelerate the game through. It's not necessarily worked out that way. And now you see that EDG have really good defensive vision across all sides of the river. I think they're fine to just sit and farm up at this point. Despite the early dives going against them, I think RA have maybe just stalled out a little bit now. I'll also say they've low-rolled with a Chem Soul, especially into a Smolder. You want to be playing low HP there late game versus that, so not the greatest soul available to them. Of course, you know, Cassante not bad with Chem Soul. You know, you can get use out of the tenacity and the stats at lower HP, but it's still not the best thing ever, let's be real. So, getting ourselves onto the map again. Herald spawning in 30 seconds. RA, they could make a big power play with that. They would really like to get that Herald as it spawns, so I assume won't have that arrow. We are contesting over the Scuttle Crab and the river positioning, though. Dwyer has Flash, as does Wink, both engaged champions, really ready to pull the trigger. And you can see just that body language getting a little bit testy there. No one pulls the trigger just yet. It's going to be the Scuttle Crab taken by RA and EDG forced out of river. Yeah, that'll be that. We got ourselves about 5 seconds till Herald spawns. That might be the next port of call here for RA. A good way of potentially forcing through mid lane in particular. Plates all fall off. Not that many claimed, honestly, by RA. I think they got 2 bot lane, and that was about it. I think they might have gotten one in mid as well. Like, it wasn't that great in terms of those plates coming through, but you know, EDG, when they have, you know, you have that small, that you're really happy just to be you're just happy to be here, Sam. You're happy to be even, very, very much so.
Oh yeah.
And you know, the Ashe is going to be, you know, ahead of the game for now, but for how long realistically? You're getting to the point where, you know, Leaf's getting
more and more stacks.
More and more stacks. It's not the fastest stacking ever, but with the Shojin definitely helps. Vikla, can you Valkyrie over the wall? Yes, he can. No engage through there. And we're slowing down, Sam. We have time. Have you got any bits prepared? Anything you'd like to use this time wisely for?
I don't know my days. We nearly didn't have time as the arrow came.
You tell me. Got any bits? Do you like...
Time is a weird soup, Alex.
Why is that? Why is that?
Ask Talus and Jaffe.
Right, okay.
Member of Hit D&D live play show Critical Role.
Right, okay. I have to say I really appreciate Talus. Talus just looks at the world in a way which I appreciate. It's just weird. I appreciate that. Also, he's also a great player of Vampire the Masquerade. If anyone out there like appreciates other like tabletop
LA by Night,
systems.
great.
So. Another thing on that news as well. There was this Wizards are starting to do like a revamp of some of the old classes and stuff like that with like the new player's handbook, so you can have optional rules. And they finally updated my beloved Ranger, and it's still just as shit.
It's just awful. Oh no!
It's still just just as bad. And they also killed Gloomstalker in it, which is like the living blender build. It's like a Phalios when he's got a lot of chakram stacked up.
So Gloomstalker's worse, and everything else still isn't good.
Yeah, it's just less satisfying, so that's sadly not great. I don't know if this is going to evolve into that much, that it's not going to go through much, but... Well, okay, I think we've used up our bit content for now, so yeah, I don't know, I'll sit there and I'll bemoan the fact that my favorite class is once again just really...
It's gotten worse.
It is somehow gotten worse and less satisfying. I'm going to sit there with my, you know, my nine attacks on turn 1 with Gloomstalker, and then... yeah, I'm going to cry. I'm going to hold on to my old rules, or use the house rule ones instead. Anyway, we've got Dragon coming up in a minute, so we can return back to League of Legends, or at least the Dragons part of Dungeons & Dragons. So we now need to see where the next big advantage is going to come through in terms of the big engage. Ooh. The arrow's going to hit JJ!
Oh, that's a big one. Onto the Lily. Means they can't get involved that much yet, but follow-up limited, so looked good for a moment, but JJ not actually under as much threat as they could have been, having been hit by the arrow. So for now, just see... bit of poshing around mid lane, not too much more, honestly.
Yeah, Assume hits an arrow, but onto the target behind the person he was aiming at, so sadly they can't capitalize, and now RA, they can potentially look for an early soul point. They're going to get themselves towards this tower, which will share gold between Vikla and Xiao Hao, of course. I think Xiao Hao getting gold is important. He's gone for the Merc Treads, which makes it harder to engage onto him with something like the Lily of Sleep. I think that makes sense, because if you get hit by a random Swell Seed, the game can get very difficult. The fact that he shares in some of that gold is important. I will say RA, they have given up positioning around this dragon in favor of some resets, so EDG are going to go back in towards the river. RA would love to get themselves onto Soul Point for just any extra combat stats they can afford before Leave gets online. He's on, what, 133 stacks right now, if I spy that little number correctly. And EDG will be waiting for that to take over to 225.
And hook now onto the Rel. Flash on forward, straight onto the Lily, who now get the turnaround as Rel goes in with a Magnet Storm, and down goes Nautilus. Wink now in danger as Assume begins to free fight, but Cryant's already done the work. They will now lose the Rel. The turnaround onto Cryant is huge as the plants come on forwards. Assume gets 2, nearly at Meganar. The arrow onto Solo Kill, who finally turns up to a play despite this gold lead from the individual lane being pretty monumental. It ends up being a 2 for 2.
But with the health bars being so low, I think EDG get themselves the dragon after this point, potentially. All the same, the start of that fight looked really good for EDG because Assume wasn't doing damage. As soon as Assume starts putting on the afterburners, EDG start melting away, and you can see that Rare Adam, this is the point which they really wanted to play around. This Ashe having a point of power over the Smolder being the difference in the damage. EDG are not going to be able to get that dragon. I thought they might be able to, so that's going to be up for the taking beyond this point. Start of this play, it's an engage onto Vikla, who Valkyrie's forwards like that. I don't know, man. You got to be really careful with your mobility tools. Vikla kind of throwing himself into the fray. I think that he's ended up causing his team a bit of heartache at that point, and it leaves Assume to be the one to do a lot of the damage. They do get a flash out of Leave at the same time, but it really is Vikla just throwing himself into the fray, which ends up giving the opening to EDG.
Fair to assume though, they'll play a very clean fight. It's now at 4-0-1. Decide on the Phantom Dancer over the Flicker Blades. Was some debate about it. Back to the Dragon we go. Down about 2,000 HP, could be in Smite Steel range, and it is! In comes the mother from Smolder to do some work. Solo having to back away. The damage, though, already monumental onto the backline. It's a 1 for 2 in favor of EDG so far, but all out goes the side of Xiaoxu and gets at least one back, but Crying so damaging. Assume trading out with the Phantom Dancer. Not quite enough. There's everybody dead but one on either side.
Once again, RA end up losing their Corki in an inopportune scenario, and Viklas had a couple of crap fights in a row to give EDG the opening to get better damage. Leave ends up getting good kill participation. The Shojin gives you decent cooldown in the early game and some ramping damage. You just got to see now that EDG are going to get stronger. This is them before they get that Smolder to a big point of power. This is before they get to, you know, JJ getting to the point where he can pull that Seekers and the Zhonya's later into the fight too. RA, if they're losing fights now, what's it going to look like later?
I mean, you called out like 133 stacks just before this sort of couple of contests around the Dragon. He's now at 185 after those two bloody fights. He's getting pretty scary now.
Yeah, just look at Vikler again in this fight. He's here at the front line. You can see that no one's really managing to stop JJ getting in. The hook missing really hurts. Xiaohao with the early smite, 40 HP too early, and you can see that immediately, just like you lose Vikler to the Mega Knight, you lose him to the big combo. He's been out of position in both of these big fights right now, which is so important because it's meant to be you're the one with the extra carry potential, with the Ashe on a good amount of gold and the Corki, as opposed to, you know, the Smolder who's not quite just there. Xiaoxu, great play from him to at least even up that carry for carry kill.
And again, Assume still ends up with another couple of kills. Is very scary on the Ashe now as well, but it's getting pretty tricky. He's picked up a Vamp Scepter to try and be able to heal through some of these more extended fights. I understand the decision making, even if the Infedge is normally what you like to see third here with this build, because it works so well with the move speed you get from Phantom Dancer and the slow you get from your passive with all the crits. So the decision making is still there.
So, EDG, they are within touching distance of gold. It's within 1,000. They have themselves one of those dragons, so it's not even like early soul point has been hit by RA, and the fact that they can't get that mid lane tower is really going to annoy them too. They're even in turrets 1-to-1 with EDG, but if they open up that mid lane turret, it just allows the arrows with the hawk shots and then Nautilus for big engage too to be a huge playmaking opportunity within EDG's own jungle, where they might not always have the best defensive vision. As it stands right now, EDG do have really good defensive vision. Leave, he's going to get himself his ultimate back on a high enough cooldown to make sure that he can keep wave clearing. But that was one of the things that was nerfed about him. You can't do it every wave right now, so it is going to be that mid lane turret finally falling. That's the nerf to Smolder, which we saw from the previous iteration of him coming to play. He doesn't have the ult pretty much on every wave to clear it out.
219 stacks, I believe, for Leave right now as well, so we'll definitely have that upgrade on a good clip here for doing a little bit more work in the team fights that have been very close so far. Both AD carries becoming very dangerous at this point in the game, but Smolder's about to really wake up, and that, I think, might start turning things around even more than already.
You see that little bar on the HP bar? That is the burn. That's the execute threshold. It's lower than it was, it's less oppressive than it was, but it's still Smolder. So now, welcome to hard mode, RA. You were playing an easy mode before this point. They dove the Smolder. Awesome. Cool. Got themselves to 2 early dragons. Nice. Cool. Now EDG have stopped your soul win condition, and you now have to play for multiple dragons into the Smolder who's online. As soon as you get that third item, it's going to get even harder. But even with just the Shojin and the rapid fire cannon, those Qs at longer range every so often are going to apply that burn. It's going to be a real pain in the ass for Rare Atom to get away with this one.
Yeah, I think that will get quite tricky to manage. Of course, you've got good tools potentially to manage the Smolder. The Zyra is not necessarily easy for them to play, and if the plant's in a good position, the Arrow, the Nautilus, the Cassante, you have got ways, but if you're blowing absolutely everything to get Smolder, there are still threats elsewhere. JJ at nearly 1.5 items will continue to be scary. Crying at 2 items on the Lucian is still a bit of a threat too.
Fun note about that. Did you know that, so thank you in Chinese is xie, and of course the jungler would be using jeje, so it's quite similar in regards to that too. It's a fun one. So you say thank, so xie jeje. Thank you, JJ.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the one. Anyway, got ourselves Dragon in a minute, and we'll see whether JJ can get himself another thank you for stealing a dragon.
Yeah, he certainly stole the last one. He was very valuable for that as well. About 30 seconds on that one, and Leave not quite at third item, but has the stack. So get ready potentially for a smaller carry scenario.
Yeah, and we have the Rylize now on Xiaohao. That could be really important. If you tag that Rylize onto Smolder, it's harder for him to position. I need to see where Xiaohao's plants are going to be positioned in the big team fight. Currently, solo kill away from the team. Of course, solo kill, a big part of the disruption that EDG want to bring in to the start of this fight. I gotta say, RA, with Jue going in as the engage, he's going to explode very, very quickly. Look, the Warmogs is great if you take that poke, and it can mean that Leave won't get great poke onto you with his W and his Q of the rapid fire, but you are going to explode when you all in. Arrow's just fired.
Lucian dodging away to try and get away from the Corki coming to stop the contest there, but it's an easy enough run away. But both mid laners now not around this dragon that is started up by EDG.
Yeah, it's just another bad arrow from Assume. He's not been accurate this game. He's been on a good run of form, but these arrows are really not helping. Hawkshot comes through to give some vision of the battlefield. UAV deployed. RA, can they find themselves engaged? Victor's not even here. He's not here in time.
No, but it'll still be a smite contest taken by the Zyra. That's so point. Smolder fires out the ultimate. Jue getting burned down, about to get popped. Leave gets that one, but it's a 1-for-1. Now Leave's in danger, has to flash himself. So many slows though. Needs to try and get over the wall. Doesn't have the flight, and a flash on him from Corki guns down the dragon.
Okay, this is the green light for RA. You've killed 2 members. You need to get the Baron right now. You have a Zyra. You can gun this down. If they get the Baron, I think they can accelerate the game again to the point where EDG can't stand up and fight. Leave couldn't get over that wall in time. This should be the game-breaking moment unless EDG have something to say in the 3v4. I don't think they can though. Solo Kill can teleport in and see if he can contest with the Mega Gnar.
Xiaoshu took the blast cone out, found an easy action for Jeju, who doesn't have flash, couldn't come over the wall. Down to 3,000 HP. They need to keep the Lilia out of the pit. Down goes Baron. Solo Kill coming for a flank. It's going to be slowed down by the volley, making it very hard. Cryan also slowed down by the Rylize. And Solo Kill split off, goes down. Into the backline goes Xiaoshu, who murders Cryan with a Q3 from the gods and Topfo. 3 strikes and you're out. Wink going over the wall and flashing out after the crash down. No horse available. It is a charge of the Light Brigade from EDG into the cannons around Baron, but they don't win that fight.
Jue is now back on the board as well, potentially looking for a hook forwards with Cryan and Solo Kill dead. RA, it felt like they'd stalled out, that maybe they'd not had the speed to get away from this Smolder, but now suddenly with 8 kills on Assume, he's going to have a boatload of gold. RA going to reset the Baron buff and try and roll through the rest of the towers on this map, and I think EDG are going to be hard pressed to get away from this one. Stalling out is fine when you're within 1,000 or 2,000 gold. You can't realistically expect that when the gold starts to ballooning to this kind of size.
Oh man, that Ashe is so scary. Bloodthirster in now as well, much more able to stand and deliver. Trying to get to this Ashe in the first place has proved a bit of a nightmare. Let's look at this replay because it got pretty tight. It was a smite fight.
Yeah, Xiaohao gets the smite, which is really, really important. You know, RA, they're the ones playing on the disengage at this point, which I think is completely fine. It means that you have the Rylize plants and the Strangle Forms making the difference. And you can just see that EDG, they split in the way that they retreat. The fact that Leave kind of ends up being on his own on this side means that there's no way you can play a fight and retreat around that Smolder, and RA just pick him off.
Flap, flap, flap to get the kill on Jue, and that's all well and good, but we'll talk about that in a second. As Cryan, well, it's all over but for his namesake. He is in a 3v1 and swiftly goes down.
When you die trying to defend against a Baron buff, it makes things that much worse, because now there's no one here to wave clear through this bot side. You don't have that Lucian, who is so much of the damage here from EDG. That's going to be an inner turret. I'd imagine this might even be the full inhibitor with a full minute left on the Baron buff. They do have themselves a hook to look for from Nautilus, even if the ults aren't there from Assume.
Get a little dicey to manage. Inhibitor turret under siege. Already the damage is getting pretty huge. This Ashe in particular, we've called it out already. Smolder calls him mum again, but look, this isn't the PTA. You don't have that much power here.
Just imagining fucking Theoden under the influence of Rimmer Wormtongue. You have no power here. God, yeah. So sadly, Leave is going to be left to read his own report card. And this one, RA going to be walking in towards this mid lane, taking away not just the bot lane inhibitor and outer inner turret. They're going to take the mid lane inner turret as well. Almost a 6,000 Baron power play. Yeah, EDG, this is going to be hard pressed to fight back against this one now.
Yeah, it's getting tough, and I think as well, Solo Kill just not been part of this game. Had a good laning phase, we're up 1,500 gold. Hasn't team fought well. We've seen, what, one good ultimate to get a hold of Victor? That's been about it. On the other side, this Cassante, multiple fights, has been a menace in the backline. Cryan hasn't been able to play the game.
I really think that Xiaoshu deserves a lot of praise for how he's been playing in summer. I think that the way he's approached team fights on the same kind of time sleep coming through, it's not going to be proc though, so ultimate down from Jeje, not going to lead to that much.
Blue Trinket comes on through to maybe spot out a bit more on the retreat, but RA don't fall prey to the OMG scenario from yesterday, where around those tier 2s and tier 3s and top side, you end up with a jungler getting caught in the game, all going wrong.
Oh my god, don't talk to me about that.
I've not seen a Kindred play like that in a while.
The fact that OMG lost that game too. By the way, folks, if you didn't see the games yesterday between OMG and IG...
Get popcorn.
God. Look, go back and watch them. Get yourself some ibuprofen, because you're going to have a headache after that one. Yeah, that wasn't so great. Anyway, RA, this is now to a point where, look, it is getting to the point where it's quite hard to, yeah, it's just really hard to throw this game at this point. They have themselves really easy champions to play around. EDG, they are going to have to play largely around side lane pressure from solo kill. You can see what happens when Cryan pushed up like that before. It's quite hard to play around this. Arrow missing again, but not really going to be that much to play around here. The arrows have been missing quite a lot from Assume.
Yeah, going for relatively long-range attempts that haven't really worked out. They will get this tier 2, which was a bounty. Solo kill in danger, nearly at Mega. Will be able to hop away. The culling as well as a relatively big tool. With the rest of EDG on the retreat, that should just be free soul for Rare Atom.
And that's going to be some extra stats into their back pocket. EDG, they are recalling after taking that one turret and just... feeling now that EDG, again, running out of presence on the map. They're stalling as best they can. They get 3 items onto Cryan, but, you know, Vikla is now... After Vikla had some pretty poor team fights before, this is now still 2,500 gold up with almost 4 items on that Corki. All he needs is one good team fight, and then those earlier fights, we can kind of forget about them to an extent.
There it goes down. And the souls all secured. The Elder fight in 6 minutes might have to be the win condition from EDG. And of course, Smolder still scales with the more stacks they get. The execute threshold and stuff starts raising, even if it starts at a lower bar than what it used to be. Maybe that's your way back in. We've all seen late game Smolder, and the game did stall out a little bit. In some ways, we're expecting the game to be over by now, and it's not quite yet.
Yeah, normally you get to this point and you think, oh my god, Smolder's going to ruin everything. Well, there's still that chance. Baron's spawning soon. You can see that Xiaohao staying around the pit so we can keep seeds in the area, which means that you can have maximum plants on spawn. EDG not really able to go in and disrupt those plant spawns. Assume's going to be playing through mid lane, pushing that one out, and then in 20 seconds he'll move over towards that Baron. They'll have a million different plants, and now it'll be on JJ really to flash in and try and look for a steal, or EDG to look for a big, maybe a big ultimate coming in from Leave. If he can stack up the Shojin, get that increased ability damage and use that to burst down the Baron as well. Maybe EDG can look for an over-the-wall steal.
Might have to be the end goal here, because I'm not seeing any easy way to play out this game otherwise. And of course it is the Mega Blast Cones, but that just got popped there by Cryan, of all people. Interestingly, I'm not sure I would have done that on this side. You want to use that Blast Cone if you can, but hey, it's going to be down now as JJ picks up a little bit of that overshield from the Chemtech infused honey fruits.
Give you that extra movement speed and give you the extra heal and shield over that tomb. So, EDG, can they get themselves onto that Baron? Observers very rightfully pointing out, solo kill, just lost his Mega Gnar. Now, Xiaohao hasn't been able to keep his pants? Yeah, he hasn't
lost his pants.
Yeah. He's lost his seeds around that Baron, so they're not going to be able to rush it on spawn, which is what I thought they might try and look towards. Another arrow missing from his team is going to slow down the game of yet again. From RA, not great accuracy from him this game. Even if just a couple more of them hit, we would have opened up the map for Rare Atom.
Yeah, might have been something. I've not seen an arrow from Assume, not when it's off screen, shall we say. The long-range arrows just haven't been hitting this game. I appreciate the attempt. It's not on the longest cooldown at this point, level 16. Already down to over a half of the cooldown already completed. So there is that. Still, though, you kind of hope for a bit better. You know what I mean?
Baron started up. JJ still in the area. Can Joy stop him getting into the pit? They'll have that flash. They'll have themselves the Smolder ultimate in range to try and fire over the wall.
Smolder summons the ultimate. Leave again to free fire damage though. Wink. Just taken out before he can get that much done. Was looking for an engage that could not be found. The tier 2 on the bot side is secured by solo kill, and that's something. All the while, not really getting Baron either at RA, so they're okay with this, I think.
Lose themselves that turret. Victor's coming down, he has teleport, and also Joy has the War Mugs, which means he doesn't have to reset. He can stick around that Baron if they want, so we'll see whether RA just rinse and repeat. There's no Smolder ultimate this time to throw over the wall. We said that's a big part of the over-the-wall combo, and it starts again.
JJ has flash still. It's a known quantity, but down to 6,000 HP. Cryan to half HP himself as Vikla. It's burned out by Leave, who flap-flaps out. Oh! Zhizhi gets in! He steals the Baron, gets a lilting lullaby, will fall down, but RA mess up, and that gives them all the time in the world.
All the EDG fans out there say, Zhizhi steals the Baron, does lose his flash, but that's completely fine. Ends up getting himself a huge victory there for EDG to again get themselves a bit of a stall and keep themselves in the game.
He said he had flash, we said there was a steal opportunity. Wasn't expecting to be pulled off that cleanly. Let's have a look again.
I mean, he ends up getting a full Q and W in that pit. The fact that they don't shut him down is beyond me. Look, he gets the Q, gets the W. It's a massive combo for him. But how the hell did they let him get into this pit? You have to kill the jungle. This is a straight burger flip. Like a straight burger flip.
It's coming out perfectly hot, ready to be eaten by EDG. You've been starving for the last few minutes, and now Smolder, look at those stacks. Over 400, has 4 items. This could still end up in a win for RA, despite largely better play from EDG. Despite largely better play from RA, the gold lead is non-existent.
Yeah, and RA, can they keep accelerating this game? It does feel like with that Baron going over, it's going to be EDG just stalling a little bit longer. And it feels like now that you have that 4, almost 5 items on lead, it is that much harder to play the game from RA. Dway in particular is going to get burned down at every opportunity. The Nautilus is not tanky. You have so little time available to get that first entrance into a play.
Ward over the back of this dragon could be something to remind, but Elder's in a minute, and that might just end up turning everything around. Again, this team from EDG, for all that they've got things like the Lucian, does scale pretty well, because the Lilia, now with a Jack show to be a frontliner alongside the Zhonyas, you've got the 4.5 items on this Smolder that's only getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Is going to be difficult to deal with.
So, first game of the day, and we're already going long. EDG, Elder up in a minute, and you know what? In a full 5v5, I think I'm favoring them right now. I think Vikler and Zoom have really struggled to get the damage down at this point. You're against that Smolder with that, you know, that rapid fire counter and getting so much damage onto you. And I have to say, Vikler has really struggled to get these big team fights. And now Zoom, who was so far ahead, is now almost even with Lee. Dwayne, not quite able to find the engage.
Looking for it, but the flap is quick enough at this point with all the stacks they save.
Oh,
the arrow is
miss.
poor. I mean, it was blind, don't get me wrong, there were no wards, but it still goes wrong. Xiao has to get over the wall, gets out from the Smolder ultimate. Mom again called in with his lungs, and will go straight towards Shovey through mid lane. There's a Q coming through. Q over the wall from Xiaoshu. Gets leave. Smolder's down. Glory from the top lane of RA, who are the rarest atoms of all. Gold is valuable, but they are just better in this one. It's a man-made victory from the top lane.
Gold is temporary, Xiaoshu is forever for RA. They will march down to the base after slaughtering EDG in the late game. The Smolder could not carry the game because the Smolder was caught, and EDG will, just like their AD carry, leave this game in tears.
I cannot believe it. Xiaoshu might just have earned an MVP for the most incredibly clutch Untofo Strikes Part 3 I have seen in my life. Pulls Smolder over the wall and pulls RA over the line. They are the Game 1 victors.
It takes a monumentous amount of effort from Xiaoshu to win that game for Rare Atom, but they get it. The fact that Assume misses all of his arrows and then his top laner says, alright, I'll do it myself, hand me that goddamn AD carry, is the story of that game, folks. We hope you've been enjoying yourselves here on our little co-stream of the LPL. So, welcome back. Hello, my name's Nymaera. I'm also known as Alex. This is my brother, Sam. He's also known as Initialise. When the games are not officially broadcast on the English side of things on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we do it instead on our co-stream, because otherwise these games might get lost to time and people won't be able to get to see them. So we hope you've been enjoying them and enjoying to see whatever the hell that late game was. RA miss all their arrows, but Xiaoshu doesn't care.
I mean, again, it was a quiet Cassante game outside of 3 very clutch team fights. The 2 around the dragon where he murders crying, and then this one where he gets a hold of Leave. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. And yeah, give us a follow, throw us your Prime subscription.